Welcome back to part 2, gang. And welcome back to Bunny Mountain, where Tamako and friends have spent 3 more episodes doing...
Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
Okay, maybe that's not fair. Maybe. Tamako and her friends are still enjoying new experiences and exploring new feelings and all that cute life is lifey stuff. Dara the chubby cockatoo is still hilarious. They watch fireworks at a festival, run a homemade haunted house, go to baton twirling practice after school, all that jazz. But as I've tried to make it clear previously, charm without progression, to me, wears out its welcome pretty fast. Episodes have begun to open and close out with Dara soliloquizing on how growing up is hard to do in his sappy, poetic way, and while it is charming, it's also a nice little reminder that this parroting of K-On! Is effectively a show about nothing going nowhere. At least, that's what I thought. But then again, that subplot of searching for the Island Prince's bride has not gone away either. In fact, it's been followed up on a little bit as a fortune-telling girl from the faraway island has come to Bunny Mountain searching for Dara, the fat cockatoo, and wondering why he hasn't found the new princess yet. Now, obviously, she's kind of just shown up to be adopted into the little girls making friends, eating cake, drinking tea group. However, there's that question of what will happen when she does find out who the princess is going to be, and I don't think it's any surprise, the show's named after Tamako, who it will turn out to be, so we'll just see how that's handled next time, I suppose. Has GJ Boo gotten any worse? The answer is yes. For you see, friends, GJ Boo has taken a step too far down its pander promenade. I've been patient and understanding, even when I realized the show was about nothing, not very funny, and heavily reliant on cute girl stereotypes slavering over a personality-less loser. Oh, I soldiered on. But now we've added not 1, not 2, but 3 new characters to the cast that take it all just a bridge too far. GJ Boo has introduced to its cast 3 little sisters! One's precocious, snarky beyond her years, and one's a gothic Lolita, and one's a cute little foreigner who doesn't know nothing about the real world, and wouldn't you know it, they all have a heaping helping of puppy love for our male lead. Did I mention one of those little sisters was his little sister? Nope. I'm done. We're done here. You can bore me, you can slyly infer otaku bait gimmicks, pretend your show is all sweet and innocent in the interest of selling naughty merchandise, all you want. But the second they dip their finger into the emoto crap, I'm gonna drop it like a bad habit. In fact, scrap the simile, this is a bad habit. This show, its existence itself, is a bad habit for a lot of anime fans who just want something cutesy and silly to pass the time, and they don't care that it's cheap, pointless, and kind of insulting. Or in some cases, they embrace all 3 of those things because it's comfortable. But I was really happy that the incest fetish stuff was dying off in some of these more recent seasons. I certainly don't want to waste any time in the derby on it, so the minute GJ Boo goes there, I will dwell on it no more. We're done with this one. Whew. Bring in Katora-san. So, remember when I said at week 1 that the humor in Katora-san was kind of weird and slightly mean and probably not for everyone? And then I expounded on that in week 2? Okay, so multiply that by like 12, because we've officially now added the butch and feisty Moritani to the main cast. She's the childhood friend of our male lead, Manabe, who wants to make him hers and won't take no for an answer. And this is sort of all played for laughs. Both how desperate she is to jump his bones, which is not as bothersome to me as how crass and unattractive Manabe finds her and tells her to her face, which is also played for laughs, while Katora just sort of tries to keep the peace in the group as a friend to both of them. Now, mind you, this is not the only joke in these run-up episodes. It's not even a particularly overused one. But it is yet another example of the sort of humor this anime is shooting for, and how it may not be for everybody. It's only become more goofy since the beginning, and a lot of the surprisingly heavy drama leading up to it has been shelved, although from bits of foreshadowing we get here and there, I don't think it was shelved permanently. Either way, it's a significant shift in dynamic, I guess. I don't want to say the shift in dynamic is a step downward, because I don't feel like it is. I mean, why would I disparage a comedy for being comedic? It doesn't really make any sense. But at the same time, The most bizarrely serious aspects of Kotora-san are what make it unique, and even after an entire episode of hijinks and haunted houses and all manner of ludicrosity, the part of the show that stuck out the most in this last round of episodes is this moment where you see Kotora-san's crazy-ass mother watching her from a distance, and you sort of wonder, oh no, what is she planning? What's gonna happen? And somehow, at some point, underneath all the silly slapstick of this show, it's become a little bit more about what will happen to these characters on a more dramatic scale. So, it's a give and take. Still really enjoying the show, but I feel kind of weird for saying I want it to pull down on the wacky nonsense a little, even though the wacky nonsense is very effective. I love that part too, but the balance seems off. We'll see where it's going. So here is, I think, what happened in Hakenden in episodes 5 through 7. I don't think you'll mind me spoiling, really, will you? Is anyone else watching this? Just me? Okay, good. Anyway, after our heroes set out on their quest to find the other members of these legendary 8, they stop at a mansion to visit some old friend that we've never met before, but they assure us is very important, and apparently living there is a snake god who doesn't like to be bothered. So of course Shino bothers him, and Sosuke has to protect him, and they eventually become friends. Nothing to do with the plot, as far as I understand. So after that, they go to a little mountain town that's been having trouble mining for gold and making their nut like they used to. I don't know why our heroes care, but they do. So they go, and they meet this really stern doctor lady and a super fabulous Dr. Dude, neither of which are members of the Hakenden, so another strike for following the plot in any direction there. So they tell them that the mountain is guarded by a giant monkey god who doesn't like to be bothered. So, of course, Shino bothers him, and Sosuke has to come to his rescue. Yada 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 yada. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't this show supposed to be about the Hakenden finding each other and then banding together for reasons that were never given to us? I'm trying to find something to care about. I'm trying to find something to hold on to here. But these vacations with the snake gods and the monkey gods, they've got me all flipped around backwards and sideways on what the hell this show is supposed to be about. Besides all the homoeroticism, which, I mean, while mildly amusing at points because it is supernaturally based and therefore sort of fucked up, does not an engaging story make. The individual vignettes themselves aren't awful, just sort of bland and pointless, so this is still firmly in the yellow, but boy is this show lame. Not the worst thing of the season by any means, but probably right up there as one of the lamest things. Speaking of the worst things, Sasami-san at Ganbaranai. Why does anyone defend this show? It is bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. 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 After the weird series of non sequitur juxtaposed against awkward exposition dumping that we had in the last run of episodes, Sasami-san has decided it is rubbish at building an engaging plot. It gives up, is instead resorted to being more of a lightweight character piece like its clear inspiration Haruhi Suzumiya. But after spending several episodes with the robot girl character, Sasami, and her deceased mother, with a partial focus on quirky, brainless ditzy pie here, I think it's safe to conclude it's rubbish at building interesting characters, too. I think the whole thing is just rubbish. But, because it's a Shaft endeavor, I found, to my ever-dwindling surprise, that there are a significant number of people absolutely defending this show. Same with GJ Boo, incidentally, only the number's a little bigger in that case. And normally I get it. Like, I get it on some level why material like this, done this way, garners a niche following. And calling the people who like Sasami-san a following is probably too large a number for what actually exists. But it still is too significant a number even for my liking, because this show is genuinely that abrasively terrible, and not even in a fun way. So I'm not sure where any defense of this is coming from, but I'll try to explain what in it works, if anything. Most of it absolutely blisteringly incompetent. Okay, so the overall theme of Sasami-san seems to be that you shouldn't have to prove yourself to the world or force yourself to grow up before enjoying friendship and fun while you're young. Okay, whatever. Simple enough idea, but the way the show delivers on it is asinine. At the beginning of an episode, they'll launch into lofty poetry and abstract metaphor to carry across something as dippy as, friendship is more important than anything, and then by the end they're just saying Friendship is more important than anything. In over-emotional, overlong, soppy, ridiculous speeches, usually delivered while framing the shot as sexually as possible, as if to trick potential viewers into staying because there might be some girl-on-girl. Now that by itself is pretty pretentious and insulting. Portending to wisdom that you don't actually possess, which is the actual definition of that word and nothing else. And insulting because at the same time they're just sort of slithering and sliming into the lowest point of otaku marketability while trying to be artsy at the same time. We've discussed this last time. But it's been employed by anime before. It's not an unusual dynamic, and it's not always a bad one. There have been some very effective shows that use this juxtaposition of convoluted metaphor and stark simplicity to capture an audience. The problem here is that the characters of Sasami-san never do anything remotely similar to any human being, so any human message is not going to happen. This is true of several Shaft endeavors of the past that draw characters out to such extremes that they can no longer be compared to anything human, and while that might work in some extremely arty, niche circumstances, in Sasami-san, it just invalidates its bone-simple ideas and makes the characters completely unsympathetic. They couldn't be more obvious one-note constructs made to sell body pillows if they were printed on polyester and jammed full of cotton. It spends a long time to say very little. It's not funny or complex. It's horrifically up its own ass and meandering philosophical bullshit while still licking futilely at the otaku teat and pandery execution. And that reminds me, the way its message is executed, it sort of nihilistically celebrates sloth and entitlement to be surrounded by people who like you and simple things that make you happy without ever having to work for them. Because that's what being young is all about. So, hello, shitty distillation of what would be a good message for otaku into just telling them what they want to hear and doesn't mean jack shit. Okay, so the whole say nice things about the show plan did not go as predicted, but the one nice thing I think I can say about Sasami-san is that it did eventually adopt a genuinely frightening and attention-getting sort of threat, a conflict. It would have been more effective if the character in danger, our protagonist, wasn't a personality-less, unsympathetic skis-wad louse, but I'll take what I can get. Sasami's mother, the previous priestess, returns to Earth from the bowels of hell to force her daughter to take up the mantle as the new priestess through some honestly pretty disturbing means. And it makes sense as a plot development. It was very tense in places. I thought it was the most effective the show has ever been. But I do mean was, because unfortunately the whole thing is resolved through Deus Ex Machina monologuing bullshit that pretty much restores the status quo with no consequences and kills whatever drama there may have been previously. Fuck this show! It's awful! It's easily one of the most badly written anime I've ever seen in my entire life. It's really bad. And yet, here we are. It's still not as boring as GJ Boo. Moving on. Now, Problem Children is not a bastion of incompetence by comparison, but it has been having some problems with its character development, in that it's chosen not to develop its characters very much. This only becomes more obvious as the show heads into what I think is going to be its first real big conflict. A mysterious guild themed around the story of the Rats of Hamlin is emerging, foretelling calamity for the little garden. Now, Problem Children has been playing with the idea of myths and fairy tales and their metaphorical versus literal meaning coming to life in this weird subworld of animal people and other nonsense demons. So if you know anything about the origins of the Pied Piper of Hamlin story, then you'll have a vague and very foreboding idea of what's in store for our heroes. But speaking of our heroes, that's where we run into this character development problem. Basically, we have a best 1 out of 3 record for exploring this lead trio. Preacher Bitch is given some fairly good scenes where she's forced to confront the fact that her power is basically just the exploitation of other people's powers, and her capacity to do good is limited to her ability to bend other talented people to her will and just hope for the best. This leads her to look into how else she can use her abilities, and it's pretty good writing. But outside of that, Wolver Gambit continues to be ridiculously all-powerful, all-knowing, and grossly over-capable with no weaknesses, save for his leaning towards evil bloodlust, which is just mostly played for laughs. I get the feeling he's supposed to be a self-insert character for people reading, and it makes him pretty flawless and mostly uninteresting. An Animal Girl? Well, she's been sidelined altogether. You barely see or hear from her except when she's following orders in someone else's plans. Which is a real shame, because her backstory, being weak and bedridden without her power to borrow strength from creatures around her, like the little cat she always carries around, well, it seems right for exploring.